Imagine this. You are one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. 2 Academy Awards sit on your shelf. You have starred in some of the most iconic films ever made: Dances with Wolves, The Bodyguard, Field of Dreams. You are earning over $1 million per episode on the biggest show on American television. And then, in what seems like the blink of an eye, everything starts to fall apart. Your 18-year marriage collapses publicly. You pour over $100 million of your own personal fortune into a passion project, and it crashes at the box office. A stunt woman sues you for sexual harassment. You get kicked off the very show that made you a television legend. And sources start whispering the most devastating thing any Hollywood star can hear: that your phone has stopped ringing for leading man money. That man is Kevin Costner. And what makes his story truly jaw-dropping is not just how far he has fallen. It is how he got back up and what he is doing right now in 2026 that nobody saw coming. This is not just the story of a Hollywood star. This is the story of ambition, ego, genius, disaster, betrayal, lawsuits, lost love, and one man's determination to write his own ending, no matter the cost. Stay with us until the very end, because the latest breaking news about Kevin Costner in 2026 will genuinely shock you. This is the complete, unfiltered story of Kevin Costner. To truly understand Kevin Costner, you have to go back to the very beginning. And the beginning looks nothing like what you might expect from a future Hollywood legend. Kevin Michael Costner was born on January 18, 1955, in Linwood, California. He was the youngest of 3 boys born to William and Sharon Costner. His father, William, was an electrician who worked for Southern California Edison, and his mother, Sharon, was a welfare worker. His middle brother tragically died at birth, which shaped the quiet, introspective nature of Kevin from his earliest years. The family moved constantly because of his father's job. Kevin bounced from city to city across California: Ventura, Visalia, Compton. Being always the new kid in school made him a daydreamer, someone who lived deeply inside his own imagination. And perhaps that hunger to escape into other worlds and other stories is exactly what eventually made him such a compelling actor and director. Growing up in Compton, California, a city with a well-documented reputation for being one of the tougher urban environments in Los Angeles, Kevin was not the troubled kid you might expect. He was deeply involved in his local Baptist church, where as a teenager he sang in the choir, wrote poetry, and took creative writing classes. He was an athlete, playing basketball, football, and baseball despite being only 5 feet 2 inches tall when he graduated high school. He was also a visionary. At just 18 years old, he built his own canoe by hand and paddled the rivers that the famous explorers Lewis and Clark had once followed all the way to the Pacific Ocean. That tells you everything you need to know about who Kevin Costner truly is at his core. He is someone who does not wait for permission to pursue extraordinary things. In 1973, Kevin enrolled at California State University, Fullerton, where he majored in business administration and marketing. By all accounts, he was a solid but unremarkable student academically. What happened during his final year of college, however, would change the entire trajectory of his life. A chance encounter on an airplane from Mexico changed everything. Kevin was seated near the legendary British actor Richard Burton, one of the greatest performers of his generation, a man who had been nominated for an Academy Award 7 times. Burton struck up a conversation with the young Kevin Costner, and when Kevin confessed his secret dream of becoming an actor, Burton did something that very few established stars would do. He encouraged him. Burton told Kevin that if acting was truly what he wanted, he should chase it completely and without compromise. Kevin Costner took that advice, graduated with his business degree in 1978, married his college sweetheart Cindy Silva that same year, and then quit the marketing job he had taken in Orange County to pursue acting. The years that followed were brutal. Kevin drove trucks. He gave bus tours to celebrity homes in Hollywood. He worked on a deep-sea fishing boat. He went to acting classes 5 nights a week. He made one early film that included nudity, which so deeply uncomfortable him that he vowed never to take work that compromised his values again. And then he simply did not work for nearly 6 years, waiting for the right opportunity. Most people would have quit. Kevin Costner doubled down. The first real break came in an almost bittersweet way. Director Lawrence Kasdan cast Kevin in The Big Chill in 1983, a film about a group of college friends reuniting after the death of a friend. Kevin played the deceased friend, a character who appeared only in a casket. When the final film was cut together, Kasdan made the painful decision to remove all of Kevin's scenes. His entire performance ended up on the cutting room floor. But Kasdan remembered him, and when he went to direct the 1985 Western Silverado, he cast Kevin Costner as a brash young cowboy named Jake. Silverado was a hit, and suddenly the name Kevin Costner meant something in Hollywood. It was the beginning of one of the most extraordinary runs of success in the history of American cinema. What happened between 1987 and 1992 is genuinely staggering. In just 5 years, Kevin Costner became arguably the biggest movie star on the planet. He starred as federal agent Elliot Ness in Brian De Palma's The Untouchables in 1987 alongside Robert De Niro and Sean Connery. He played the baseball catcher Crash Davis in the beloved romantic comedy Bull Durham in 1988. He was the dreaming farmer Ray Kinsella in Field of Dreams in 1989, a a film so emotionally resonant that even today it makes grown adults weep uncontrollably in their living rooms. But all of those achievements were merely the warm-up act for what came next. The movie that would define Kevin Costner's legacy forever. Dances with Wolves. In 1990, Kevin Costner did something that was widely considered professional suicide. He decided to direct, produce, and star in a 3-hour Western epic told largely in the Lakota Sioux language, subtitled, with an unconventional narrative structure, and a budget that kept spiraling beyond its initial $15 million estimate. Hollywood insiders were merciless in their mockery. They called it Kevin's Gate, a reference to the catastrophic Western Heaven's Gate, which had almost single-handedly destroyed United Artists Studios a decade earlier. Kevin Costner ignored them all and made his movie. When Dances with Wolves opened in November 1990, it became the third highest-grossing film of the year, behind only Home Alone and Ghost, earning over $184 million domestically and another $240 million internationally. Critics adored it. The film received 12 Academy Award nominations and won 7 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director. At 35 years old, Kevin Costner stood on that stage at the Academy Awards and became only the third person in history, after Warren Beatty and Woody Allen, to direct and star in a Best Picture winner. He was not done. In 1991, he starred in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which became one of the biggest hits of the year. Also in 1991, he played the tenacious District Attorney Jim Garrison in Oliver Stone's masterfully controversial JFK. And then in 1992, he starred opposite Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard, a romantic thriller that produced one of the best-selling movie soundtracks in history. The film became a global phenomenon, earning over $400 million worldwide. For a brief, extraordinary window of time, Kevin Costner was untouchable. He was on the cover of every magazine. He commanded $10 million per film at a time when very few actors in the world could make that claim. He was the king of Hollywood. And then, as it always does in Hollywood, everything changed. The film that began to crack Kevin Costner's invincibility was Waterworld in 1995. A post-apocalyptic science fiction epic set in a world entirely covered by ocean, Waterworld became the most expensive film ever made at the time, with a budget that ballooned to a reported $175 million. Production was plagued with disasters. A hurricane destroyed the main set, the lead actress was in a public feud with Costner, and the tabloids feasted daily on the chaos. When Waterworld finally opened, it was not the disaster the press had predicted. It made money globally, but it was nowhere near the success the studio had hoped for. The reviews were unkind. The public perception was that Kevin Costner had gotten too big, too self-indulgent, too expensive. His next directorial effort, The Postman in 1997, was a genuine commercial failure that received harsh reviews. The critics who had once celebrated him now seemed almost gleeful in their criticism. His personal life was also fracturing. Kevin and his first wife Cindy Silva, who had been married since 1978 and had 3 children together, daughters Annie and Lily and son Joe, divorced in 1994 after 16 years of marriage. Cindy reportedly received an $80 million divorce settlement. During this period, Kevin also had a son named Liam from a brief relationship with socialite Bridget Rooney in 1996, a situation that attracted significant tabloid attention. Through the late 1990s and early 2000s, Kevin Costner's career entered what many observers described as a cold period. He continued making films, For Love of the Game, Message in a Bottle, 13 Days, but none of them recaptured the electric connection with audiences that had defined his early career peak. He found his footing again in 2003 with Open Range, a beautifully crafted Western he directed and starred in alongside Robert Duvall that received genuinely warm critical reception. He met Christine Baumgartner, a handbag designer, and the two fell deeply in love, marrying on September 25, 2004, at a ceremony attended by luminaries including Oprah Winfrey, Bruce Willis, Jack Nicholson, and Tim Allen. Kevin and Christine would go on to have 3 children together, Caden, Hayes, and Grace. There was also a triumphant television moment in 2012, when Kevin Costner starred in the History Channel miniseries Hatfields and McCoys, portraying the infamous patriarch devil Once Hatfield. The performance was electrifying. Kevin won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor and the Golden Globe for the same role. It was a reminder to everyone that the talent had never gone anywhere. The opportunities had simply been scarcer. And then came Yellowstone, and with it, the most dramatic second act in modern Hollywood history. When Taylor Sheridan created Yellowstone for the Paramount Network in 2018, he needed someone who could carry an entire television series on his shoulders. Someone who embodied the rugged, complicated, deeply American soul of the show's central character. John Dutton, the 6th-generation patriarch of a Montana ranching dynasty fighting to protect his land from all sides. He chose Kevin Costner, and the casting was nothing short of inspired. Yellowstone became a phenomenon unlike almost anything television had produced in years. In an era dominated by prestige cable and streaming, here was a show broadcasting on a cable channel, Paramount Network, that pulled in audiences of 12, 15, even 18 million viewers per episode when combined across all platforms. It was the most watched cable drama in America. Kevin Costner, at an age when many Hollywood stars had long since transitioned to supporting roles or retired entirely, became the highest-paid actor in American television, reportedly earning over $1 million per episode. His portrayal of John Dutton, a man simultaneously ruthless and tender, pragmatic and romantic, deeply flawed and deeply principled, was a career-defining performance. He won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Drama Series in 2023. The character resonated with millions of Americans in a way that spoke to something fundamental about identity, land, legacy, and what it means to hold on to something that the modern world is constantly trying to take away. But even at the height of this extraordinary success, cracks were forming behind the scenes. And those cracks, when they finally became public, would shake the entertainment industry to its core. The central tension was between Kevin Costner and Yellowstone's creator Taylor Sheridan. According to multiple sources who spoke to major entertainment publications, Kevin Costner, who by virtue of his stature and experience felt he understood the authenticity required to make the show work, began to chafe against Sheridan's creative control. Sources described Kevin as believing he was the authority on what made the show feel genuine and real. But Yellowstone was Taylor Sheridan's creation, his vision, his baby. And that fundamental difference in perspective created a power struggle that sources describe as intense and increasingly bitter. The situation was compounded by Kevin's growing obsession with Horizon, the four-part Western film epic he had been developing and dreaming about for years. Kevin wanted more time away from Yellowstone to work on Horizon. Sheridan reportedly wanted him fully committed to the show. Kevin reportedly offered to appear in only 1 week of filming for the final episodes of the 5th season, a proposal that, by all accounts, enraged the production. Then things got significantly darker. During the fallout, allegations surfaced that Kevin had engaged in physically confrontational behavior with his co-star Wes Bentley on set. Kevin denied the allegations. But the story was out, and the damage was real. In what became one of the most dramatic exits in television history, Kevin Costner departed Yellowstone before the show's final episodes. The writers, in a move that many viewers found shocking and brutal, killed off his character John Dutton, having him murdered off-screen in what some fans described as a deeply unsatisfying conclusion for a character they had loved for 5 seasons. Kevin was furious. Kevin was devastated. And then, almost simultaneously, his personal life exploded. In May 2023, Christine Baumgartner filed for divorce from Kevin Costner after 18 years of marriage. The proceedings that followed were among the most publicly scrutinized celebrity divorces in recent memory. The couple had a prenuptial agreement, but the battles over its terms, over child support, over the amount Christine would receive, over who would remain in their lavish Santa Barbara estate, played out in courtrooms and in the press for months. Christine was eventually engaged to Josh Connor, who sources described as a former friend of Kevin's. The betrayal reportedly stung Kevin deeply on a personal level that went far beyond the financial complications. Kevin now has 7 children total from his marriages and relationships: Annie, Lily, Joe from his first marriage to Cindy Silva, Liam from his relationship with Bridget Rooney, and Caden, Hayes, and Grace from his marriage to Christine. But even as his personal life was unraveling and his television career was ending dramatically, Kevin Costner was already betting everything on what he described as the most important project of his life. That project was Horizon, an American Saga. Horizon was Kevin's obsession, a sweeping 4-part Western epic spanning the 15 years before and after the American Civil War, exploring the brutal, beautiful, complicated story of the settlement of the American West. Kevin wrote it, directed it, produced it, and starred in it. And crucially, he poured an estimated $100 million, or more of his own personal fortune, into financing the first 2 chapters. The first film, Horizon, an American Saga Chapter 1, premiered at the prestigious Cannes Film Festival in May 2024, where it received a standing ovation. Kevin wept. He described it as one of the greatest moments of his life. It seemed, in that moment, like a triumphant comeback narrative was being written in real time. Then the film opened in theaters in the United States on June 28, 2024. And the results were devastating. Critics were mixed. Audiences were sparse. The film simply did not connect with the mass public in the way Kevin had envisioned. The theatrical performance made it clear that the ambitious 4-film franchise model Kevin had dreamed of was in serious trouble. Chapter 2 was screened at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival in early 2025, where Kevin's own children attended to support him, but a wide theatrical release date remains unconfirmed. Chapters 3 and 4 are reportedly still in search of financing. Financial and legal troubles multiplied. A company that had rented costumes to the Horizon production sued Kevin and his production companies for over $400,000 in unpaid fees. There were also legal proceedings over breaches of a co-financing deal with distributor New Line Cinema. And then came the lawsuit that generated the most disturbing headlines of Kevin Costner's entire career. In May 2025, a stunt performer named Devin Labella filed a lawsuit against Kevin Costner and the production companies behind Horizon Chapter 2. Labella had served as the stunt double for actress Ella Hunt. In her lawsuit, she alleged that on May 2, 2023, she was directed, without warning, without her consent, and without the legally required presence of an intimacy coordinator, to perform in a violent, unscripted rape scene. She alleged the set was open, allowing anyone present to observe what was happening. She claimed that after she reported the incident, she was effectively blacklisted, not called back for further work on the film series. Kevin Costner's legal team responded forcefully, calling the allegations a bold-faced lie and arguing the lawsuit was designed to damage his reputation and extract a massive, unjustified payday. Kevin filed a motion to have the case dismissed. In October 2025, a judge denied that motion, ruling that Labella could proceed with 8 of her 10 claims. Kevin's attorneys immediately promised to appeal. Suddenly, the man who had once been universally celebrated as one of Hollywood's most respected and beloved figures was instead the subject of daily negative headlines. One insider told a major entertainment publication that Kevin had been devastated and furious when he read the coverage. Another source said that despite his public composure, he cares far more about his reputation than he lets on. The Hollywood Reporter published a story painting a stark picture of a career in freefall, with sources suggesting that Kevin's phone had stopped ringing for leading man money, that a man of his stature could no longer command the kind of salary that had once seemed his permanent birthright. And yet, here is where the Kevin Costner story takes yet another extraordinary turn. Because as of right now, in March 2026, Kevin Costner is not fading quietly into the background. He is doing the opposite of what anyone expected, and the results are genuinely remarkable. The Grey House, an 8-part historical drama miniseries that Kevin executive produced alongside the legendary Morgan Freeman, marking their first creative collaboration in 35 years, premiered on Amazon Prime Video on February 26, 2026. The series tells the true story of a group of women who, during the American Civil War, transformed an underground railroad operation into an underground spy network. It has become the 9th most popular title on Prime Video in the United States within weeks of its release, a legitimate streaming hit. Kevin appeared on the red carpet with Morgan Freeman at a screening in Los Angeles in January 2026, looking by all accounts rugged and purposeful. When asked about the project, he said something that gets to the very heart of who Kevin Costner is. He said they are still storytellers at their core, and they recognize the show as real entertainment wrapped in a true story. But The Grey House is just the beginning of what Kevin has planned for his so-called redemption year. He is currently filming Headhunters, a Bali-set horror thriller in which he plays a washed-up American expat who recruits a group of surfers to chase the perfect wave at an uncharted island, only to discover that the island is home to an ancient tribe of headhunters. It is a strange, bold, unexpected creative choice for a 71-year-old Oscar winner. But then again, unexpected creative choices are precisely how Kevin Costner has always operated. He is also in development on a romantic comedy opposite Jake Gyllenhaal for Amazon Prime, a project called Honeymoon with Harry that began filming in Australia in January 2026. And, in perhaps the most intriguing announcement of all, Kevin Costner has reportedly been tapped to play former President Bill Clinton in a political drama series called United, which would mark yet another bold creative pivot for an actor who has always refused to be defined by a single lane. His personal life, too, appears to be stabilizing. Kevin is quietly dating Kelly Noonan Gores, a filmmaker who was previously married to billionaire Alec Gores. Sources describe the relationship as grounding for Kevin, a private, low-key connection that involves dinners at home, walks on the beach, and quiet nights at his Santa Barbara estate. After the very public devastation of his divorce from Christine Baumgartner, Kevin is apparently approaching this new relationship with the caution and intentionality of a man who has learned some hard and expensive lessons. The sexual harassment lawsuit from Devin Labella remains ongoing, and will likely be a shadow over Kevin's public narrative for some time to come. The fate of Horizon Chapters 3 and 4, and with them, the full realization of the artistic vision Kevin sacrificed so much to pursue, remains genuinely uncertain. But the larger story of Kevin Costner in 2026 is not one of defeat. It is something far more complicated and, ultimately, far more interesting than that. This is a man who built his own canoe at 18 and paddled across America. A man who made a 3-hour Sioux language western that everyone said would destroy his career, and won 2 Oscars for it. A man who, at 71 years old, is filming a horror movie in Bali, developing a presidential drama, and producing a Civil War spy series with Morgan Freeman. Whatever you think of Kevin Costner, his choices, his controversies, his extraordinary successes, and his very public failures, there is one thing that cannot be denied about this man. He has never, not once in his entire life, waited for anyone's permission to go after what he believes in. And in Hollywood, in life, in everything that truly matters, that kind of relentless, stubborn, sometimes reckless belief in yourself is either the thing that destroys you, or the thing that ultimately saves you. For Kevin Costner, the final chapter has not been written yet, and knowing him, he will write it himself. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as extraordinary as we do, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story like this one. Drop your thoughts about Kevin Costner in the comments below. We want to know what you think about his journey and where he goes from here.